People may be dying due to a poor water quality and paying obscene amounts of money for a basic necessity, but at least the companies are making exponentially more in profits. Today I will inform you of 4 of the issues of water privatization in the United States, which are outdated and cheaper infrastructure, water contamination, companies are no longer held accountable by consumers, and lastly, there is generally a higher amount of corruption in privatized companies. The first issue with water privatization is outdated and cheaper infrastructure. There are multiple subcategories to water privatization. The 2 that most frequently occur are outsourcing and full-service contracts. Outsourcing is where the government had control and built a plant, but later decided to sell the plant to a private company. When this happens, the company aims to make the highest net profit possible, and as a result will neglect to update and maintain the pipes and infrastructure of the water plant. This results in water pipes bursting and leaking, which then rises the prices that the consumers have to pay. In the long run, this results in the consumer paying more than if the water company had newer, higher quality infrastructure. A full-service contract is where the government negotiates a private contract with a private firm for the design, build, and operation of the water utilities. With this design, the company can skimp on materials and necessities when designing the plant, while still charging exorbitant rates in order to make as much money as possible, according to a book published by the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine in 2002. We just discussed outdated and cheaper infrastructure. Now we will discuss water contamination. While water contamination happens with both government-owned and privatized companies experience a form of water contamination 71% more often than government-owned facilities. This is due to the degradation of unchecked and unkempt or old pipes. The cost to repair and replace the pipes cost upwards of millions of dollars due to the labor and materials that are needed for the project. This leads to a private company just ignoring the situation while claiming ignorance until there is enough of an issue with repercussions if not fixed, such as major public backlash and online stock falling. Flint, Michigan is a prime example of a privatized company neglecting pipes and water quality, leading to the deaths of 13 people and the illness of numerous others. According to an article written by Manston S., Davies S., and McMurray S. in 2016, the pipes in Flint were made of lead with a chemical coating in order to keep the lead out of the water, which worked until they switched water sources to a more acidic water source, which slowly dissolved the coating and leached lead into the water, slowly poisoning the town. The privatized company ignored the issue for 5 years, from 2014 until 2019, when they received enough public backlash to fix it. We just discussed outdated and cheaper infrastructure and water contamination. Now we will discuss how privatized companies are no longer held accountable by consumers. Due to the loss of consumer accountability and the government subsidies, the company no longer has to worry about the customer's opinion in regards to price or quality, because there is no way else the common person can get water and the company will make money regardless of public opinion. As a result, privatized utilities typically charge around 60% more than government-owned utilities. Due to a government deal with these companies in a large number of cases, the deals that water companies make with government agencies include exclusive access to distribution for 25 to 30 years, effectively sanctioning a monopoly. These monopolies undermine the accountability of the water utilities, according to an article published by the Public Service International in 2010. The final issue is higher amounts of corruption in privatized companies. As previously mentioned, water privatization leads to monopolies. With the lack of competition to the utilities, this leads to excess profits and corruption in private companies. When the companies no longer are held accountable by the consumer and have no competition, they can charge outlandish prices and get away with poor quality water. Due to the multinational corporations' interest in water and sanitation services being defined by their shareholders' interest, Their return on capital and the risks involved results in bribery and donations to political parties that interests align with theirs. In order to further themselves, according to an article published by the Public Services International in 2010, we just discussed the 4 issues with water privatization in the United States, which are outdated and cheaper infrastructure, water contamination, companies are no longer held accountable by consumers, and higher amounts of corruption in privatized companies. While companies may be able to produce something cheaper and easier, water is a necessity and is not something the government should be selling to the highest bidder at the risk of the basic populace.